Alrighty. So speaking of Japan, on to today's topic.
Feast.
Oh, okay.
We're starting with Feast because I said so.
Alright.
Feast was the short film in front of Big Hero 6, which we talked about briefly in a news segment, about a dog who likes to eat food. And just hearing that, Tooch and I called it our film of the year.
Yep.
It was really, really... I guess there's not that much else to say about that. It was really cute. It was kind of interesting to see like a love story play out through the eyes of a dog who was very much removed from it.
Yeah.
Can I just say that the best part of Feast was when the girl breaks up with the dude and he's in that horrifying eating depression and the dog is so happy.
It's the happiest the dog's ever been.
Well, because the girlfriend cut him off from all the unhealthy food. And then the dog finally got to eat ice cream and shit.
It was just this... Honestly, like, the only reason I was laughing so hard was because it was such a tragic juxtaposition. This dog did not realize for probably what was, like, a solid month or two of how horrifying, like, what a depressed spiral his owner was in because he was too busy stuffing his face.
Yeah, it's a 3D hand-drawn, in the same style as Paperman. Film directed by Patrick Osborne.
Yeah. Didn't have the same like kind of immediate Paperman style as Paperman.
It did. It just was in color.
Yeah, the animation technique was the same.
Yeah.
But because it was in color, it wasn't as overt as Paperman.
Yeah. But if you want to watch a film about a Boston Terrier just eating food that a Boston Terrier should not be eating,
I was glad they didn't have the dog eat like chocolate or anything, but he did eat a lot of pasta, so probably ate a bunch of garlic, which is bad for dogs.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, this dog is gonna die.
That dog's gonna have super diabetes.
It's adorable, but you really shouldn't feed your dog people food.
Because they're not people.
They're not people.
Also, I think it's weird that the dog didn't notice that the kid existed until the kid was old enough to eat solid food.
Yeah.
Well, dogs are people. They just don't have the tummies of people.
Mm-hmm.
You can treat them like a people, but they don't have people tummies.
They're smarter. They can love as much as people. They have hearts that are bigger than people, but those hearts will get clogged up by chocolate.
Yeah, I was about to say that dog's heart is both metaphorically and literally huge.
Like, I love that scene where during the football game, where the dog was just waiting for the
Yes.
touchdown so they could throw the table and all the snacks flying in the air.
That dog is just like, yes, all over me.
It was a Boston Terrier, too, and so cute. Alrighty.
So the real movie, Big Hero 6.
Oh, I thought you were gonna be like the real movie was Feast, and then it had to follow. Then Big Hero 6 had to follow it. Rough. That wasn't a dog pun until I said
Well, it became one. Think before you speak. Your words have consequences. Yeah, Big Hero 6. I liked it. I knew I was going to like this movie at least a little bit. I liked it a lot more than I thought I would.
Yeah.
I loved it.
I super dug it. I would have dug it a lot more had it been more character driven than plot driven. It was very plot driven.
I like the movie a lot.
Oh, yeah.
I absolutely have problems with it, and we'll go into that during this discussion. But I feel like overall it worked. It just could have been better.
Oh yeah, totally.
There could have been more. It could have been a little longer.
It made me want more, but not necessarily in the good way. But if they make more, then yes, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, it was directed by Don Hall and Chris Williams, and it has a really fascinating development and backstory.
Let's hear about that.
Alrighty, so...
some more.
So, we all know that Disney and bought Marvel. And they were sort of Disney was sort of looking like, how can we use Marvel for our own stuff? And Don Hall, who directed Winnie the Pooh, the movie we talked about in our Winnie the Pooh episode, he was looking through the Marvel database when he stumbled upon the Big Hero 6 comic, which he had never heard of before, and most people haven't. He said that he just liked the title, which is why he picked it up.
He was taking the Sam Jackson route?
Yeah, I mean, he created a concept and pitched it to John Lasseter, and they wanted it to feel new and fresh.
Because you'll notice At no point during the advertising for this movie did they ever acknowledge that this was based off of a comic book.
Yeah, because it really isn't very much based off the comic book.
Not at all.
At all.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's fine, because the comic book seems kind of whack to me.
Yeah, there's a reason not a lot of people have heard of it. I never heard of it, for one thing, so that's saying something, because I spent a lot of my teenage years just looking through various Wikipedia articles on comic books I'll never read. So, you'd think
It's often a lot less painless to just read Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, a brief history on the comic. Something that Marvel came up with back when like Tokyo Pop was on top of the graphic novel world and they were trying to get a slice of that pizza.
Yeah.
So it was American creators making something that they were trying to get to look like manga. I think it was Jeff Loeb, a name who I can't tell you anything he's done, but I definitely recognize the name. Probably done Spider-Man.
I'm trying to find the comics Wikipedia page. Hold on a second.
Wouldn't be surprised if it didn't have one.
No, it does.
No, it's comics. Everything has a Wikipedia page.
Yeah, the comics were created by Steven Seagal and Duncan Riolu.
Oh, like the Pokemon.
Yeah, I was about to say, the pre-evolution to Lucario.
Rouleau.
Good job, little guy.
But yeah, like Nikki said, they were just sort of trying to market off of this whole Japan fascination thing that was going on at the time, which was 1998. It also featured heroes Sunfire and Silver Samurai, which, this movie...
And Phoenix Wright.
Yes, Phoenix Wright. But also they're part of the X-Men franchise. So
say another thing from a video game so I can say it's from a video game.
Okay. So yeah, these characters couldn't appear because of that. So several members of Marvel's creative team were sort of involved in producing the film. Joe Quesada, Jeff Loeb.
Okay, that's what I would think.
They were, there a little bit.
Well, I think Quesada and Loeb, at least one of them, are just sort of like in charge of like overseeing Marvel adaptations in general.
Yeah, Jeff Loeb is the head of Marvel Television, whereas
Yeah.
Quesada is a chief creative officer.
Yeah, so they're the big bosses. Everything goes through them. It's like, hey Loeb, hey Quesadilla, we want to do a thing, and they're like, okay, do
Hey,
it.
we bonjour Loby. We want to make a movie.
Yes, you did.
And then through talking, they sort of decided, okay, let's not really connect it to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Let it be its own thing. Let Disney sort of put their own flavor. It'll be fine.
We don't want to remind people we made this comic.
Let it have their own freedom and structure. And they were even saying they didn't even want to have any Marvel comic tie-ins. And the fact that they were going to have a manga version, which is currently being published and written right now, that is going to be published stateside through Yen Press. You could find the first chapter illegally online, really
you're a
poorly
crimer.
translated, but hopefully we'll see that soon.
Yeah, honestly, I was a little bit surprised that they even had Stan Lee for the Stan Lee Marvel cameo since it's not trying to be a Marvel thing, but I guess it's just the law.
It is the law that Stan Lee needs to be in every single Marvel movie.
Even the stuff that's not by Disney.
Oh yeah, he's in everything, literally everything. He just he must just live his life just from going to set while filming.
What else does that man have to do?
Nothing.
Not much.
No. Not since they canceled that one TV show where he narrates some dude interviewing people with quote-unquote superpowers, and it's like, hey, I can flap my arm around like this. That's so weird, Excelsior!
And then, the movie takes place in the fictional city of San Francisco, which has been sort of a point of controversy among people who think it's stupid.
Well, first of all, that would mean that it's named after a man named Saint Francisco.
Yes.
Good, I hope he's real.
The reason why it's the way that it is because they wanted something on the West Coast, because Marvel doesn't really have any West Coast iconography. And they thought, well, San Francisco is cool looking, but then the original comic was in Tokyo, and they're like, wouldn't it be fun if we mix this architecture together? That would be interesting visually and fun for us to do.
And it was.
Yeah, I dug it.
It was. And they sort of really created this whole city. The downtown is more Tokyo-fied. The outskirts are more Franciscan. I guess. There's got the exaggerated hills that are even more exaggerated than real San Fran. I think it looked cool. Like, I think it looked awesome. You know, the name is a little silly, but it's supposed to be silly. Like, I don't really care that much.
Oh yeah, no, this is, like, you can't take this freaking seriously.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's fun. Mm-hmm. It's fun robot superhero.
And it's also super dumb to argue about them straying away from canon, from a franchise whose canon nobody on the planet cares about.
Yep.
Yeah. And, I mean, and people are like, but they were all supposed to be Japanese, and it's like, that comic book was written by white dudes.
Yeah,
why do you care? Who've never been to Japan?
Who I bet barely knew anything about manga and were just desperately trying to
be hip.
They're just trying to capture a zeitgeist that they couldn't understand less.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't have any specific examples or citations on this, but from what I heard, the original Big Hero 6 comic, not entirely unoffensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're all against whitewashing in principle, but
I don't think this is whitewashing.
I don't think it really is either. Like,
yeah, people are comparing this to the last Airbender movie, and I'm like, no. Are you crazy? What's wrong? No, it's nothing
no, it's the
like
opposite.
That at all.
Because this is a great movie about a property nobody cared about, and that was a terrible movie about a property that a lot of people cared about. It's just such a loose adaptation that, yes, there's still the thing, there's so few roles and presentations of people of color in movies. And, like, I don't want to encourage the idea that, everything needs white people in it for white people to like it, but I feel like if you're gonna pick your battles, then there are better battlegrounds to fight on.
The actors are all mixed. All the actors match the nationality of their characters.
Yeah.
Which is
all
good.
Of them.
Because that's a thing in animation that you technically don't have to do, but you should.
Yeah. And they fix things. Like Hiro Hamada, his name in the comics was Hiro Takachiho, which is not a name. Takachiho is not a name. That is a made-up name.
Hiro Hamada is a great name for a superhero because it's got that superhero alliteration.
And it's also made up of real Japanese names that are real and not made up, like Takachiho, which is not real.
That sounds like something on Taco
like
Bell's
I said
menu.
before, it's written by people who had no idea what the hell they were trying to capture.
Yeah. And another cool part about the development of this film is that they really wanted to incorporate plausible science. Like, some of the science is a little bit, obviously exaggerated for film sake.
Yeah,
but
they totally threw it out the window for the whole portal sequence at the very end, but up until that point, it was pretty decent for sci-fi.
Yeah, most of the science is based on existing science innovations that are working on right now, like Baymax himself. The team took a trip to the Carnegie Mellon University Robotics Institute, where they're working on pioneering soft robotics using inflatable vinyl, which is what inspired Baymax. He's basically a completed edition of what these scientists right now are trying to do to create these soft robots that are harmless, that can pick up people without hurting them, that can be used in the medical field, that have like this armature structure but then blow up and are collapsible.
They are balloons that you can love.
Yeah. And then Baymax's face, which looks like a bell, it actually looks like a copper Suzu bell from Shinto shrines.
Oh yeah.
So it's
Like, okay, another video game. Like that Pokemon Chimecho.
Yeah.
Chimecho.
Yep.
Yeah.
Chime. Yeah, but Baymax is just one of the examples, and all the other stuff is based on feasible things.
Mm-hmm.
Feasible. Not necessarily like it exists or like nanobots are like monetarily a good idea, because they're kind of not.
Yeah.
But, it's possible. We could do it in a few years down the road if we wanted to.
We could do it if we feel like it. We just don't.
Yeah, and like Go-Go's magnetic thing, I mean, that's how speed trains go as fast as they do, and all that stuff is based somewhat in reality, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah. Like, I mean, there's obviously stuff like the idea that the sort of like psychic link that controls the microbots was kind of whack.
Oh yeah.
Or like the fact that I don't know how Gogo would break. I don't think she has any breaks.
I mean, actually, the psychic link thing is not that unfeasible. That science is starting to bloom with like
prosthetics.
Well, not even prosthetics, just like not even for like permanent implants. Like people are coming up with like temporary chips on the surface of your skin can like actually mentally link with you and shit like that. It's
actually super cool.
Yes,
yeah.
Science is cool. That's the whole point of this movie, and that's why I'll forgive it for not having more character moments and stuff, and just being kind of like, oh, it's the ABC hero superhero plot, because it's just such a cool, fun movie.
Yeah, and the reason it's not character driven so much because it's only focused on Hero.
Yes.
Well, we have all these other characters who are very interesting and could definitely have more screen time, but
this time it focused on the hero. Next time, let's focus on the 6.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. That's it.
Yeah. Here's the thing: it's like some of the marketing, but not really any of the trailers I saw, built this up as a superhero teen movie, like an animated Avengers, if you will, and it really wasn't that.
No.
This was a movie about a boy and a robot, so I liked it.
Yes.
This movie is basically Iron Giant 2.
Yeah. Interestingly about this film is that it premiered at the Tokyo International Film Festival all the way back in October 23rd. And Japan actually got their trailer first. And if you compare the Japanese trailer to the American trailers, it's amazing because the Japanese trailer is all like dramatic and it's about the human condition and Hiro's pain and
the movie, what the movie's about.
Yeah, but like it's really melodramatic.
Yeah,
and
I
like
know.
Baymax is going to heal his heart and mind, and like whereas the American trailers definitely played up the action.
Fallout Boy,
superhero.
Fallout Boy.
And the funny robot.
Like watching that trailer in Japanese got me all teary-eyed. I didn't even know what the hell the movie was about because there was no subtitles, and I was just like, this is sad.
Oh, dude! At the ending, at the climactic ending of Big Hero 6, like there was not a dry eye. I'm pretty sure I heard behind me like a couple adults like making fun of each other for crying, but it wasn't that like jarring because they were both too busy crying.
Yeah, it was very emotional.
I'm not crying, you're crying,
Like
you
that was
pussy.
like I swear I think I heard someone start talking like that behind me. Just like shut up.
But I like that. I like that they had like they wanted to go there, even though it seemed to take away from the superhero part. But I liked it.
Yeah, like it almost like honestly like at the very end I wasn't even really expecting like the whole very ending with like, yeah, we're superheroes now, because it was just sort of like, oh, they really like it would have been just as believable to me if they were like, oh yeah, we just did the superhero thing just to stop the bad guy so Hero could get over his brother's death, so like, and then they're not superheroes anymore.
Now we're gonna go back to our cutting edge science that's gonna help millions of people.
But they are helping people. They're being superheroes and they're going to school for science.
The only people they're not helping is themselves because of the impending debt.
Oh god, yeah. I mean,
well, this is the future, so presumably those problems don't exist.
Yeah, that's what the boomers say. Oh, it'll solve itself. Go to college, buy a house. Fuck you, boomers. Just stop being lazy. Fucking
Quit
boomers.
listening to your hip hops.
Do you want to talk about characters?
Yes.
Sure. Do you want to start with Hero or Hero's hot brother?
Let's start with Hero.
Okay.
Hero is played by Ryan Potter, who hasn't been in too much, but this is definitely his big break. He is himself half Japanese, half white, like a Jewish on his mother's side, just like Hero. Hero is this 14-year-old super genius kid who graduated high school when he was 13. He's like this robotics genius, but he's a 14-year-old kid, so he doesn't really have any direction, and he just kind of wants to show off how smart he is, and he participates in all these illegal bot battle things.
He's a middle schooler who got out of middle school way too early.
Yeah. Though I really love that scene where he just had all this cash, and I was like, wait a minute. I was not expecting that.
I mean, he did a hell of a job sharking that guy.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's smart. He's a very smart kid.
He just didn't anticipate that criminals wouldn't want to play by the rules.
Yeah. He's definitely the smartest out of all of the characters, and all of the characters are pretty freaking smart.
Yeah.
But, you know, he's a young teenager. He has a great relationship with his brother. He was raised by his Aunt Cass.
I really like Aunt Cass.
Aunt Cass is awesome.
Yeah, she's really funny. I wish there was a bit more of her.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to be saying about every character.
It really is.
Yeah, unfortunately. But
Every character.
Have hope for the future. And a lot of the supplementary materials actually fill in a lot of those gaps, which is kind of interesting.
Really?
We'll get to it as we get to those characters. Yeah, Hiro is our main character. It's his adventure. It's his journey going through the loss of his brother and dealing with that.
Because no one told him he was in a Disney movie, otherwise he probably would have been way more prepared for something like that.
But his parents were already dead.
He thought he was good because his parents were dead. He's like,
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I got that out of the way.
the most unawkward. Remember the most unawkward line ever? Well, yeah, but mom and dad, mom.
No, that was the most
That's how awkward it
line
was.
ever.
Mom and dad died when I was 3 years old. Don't you remember? And it's
I forgot that he said that.
I hate lines like that, but sometimes
totally.
it was necessary in a film like this just because they had so much. They wanted to tell a lot more story than what this movie was fitting. There was a few montages and just the plot was moving really fast.
Yeah, he could have been like, well, mom and dad are gone, so I don't care. Or,
Honestly, the only thing I felt that they did well was show us, I feel like there was enough, for a character that you knew going into it was going to eat it, I think that there was enough of his big brother to satisfy. Because there have been other movies where it's you don't even have time to really get to know the character before you're expected to feel bad for his death.
Yeah, and there wasn't that much time, but they did a good job of fitting a lot in. I mean, not as much as, say, the world record holder at that, which is Up.
Oh, yeah.
I felt that was really, really effective, the way that they built up
he was in the whole first act. I loved it.
Yeah, so speaking of which, Tadashi is Hiro's older brother.
Hiro's hot older brother.
Yes.
Yeah, well, he was modeled after his voice actor, who's a male model. Daniel Henney, who is himself mixed Korean and Irish. For Tadashi's character, they wanted to make sure that they were brothers first, and we could see Tadashi as this smart mentor, sort of guardian figure for Hiro. And he is a lot older than Hiro. I mean, he's already 20-something in college. So there was a pretty big gap between them, but they're super tight. And he's super hot.
He's so hot.
He dresses so well, and he's so charming, and so sweet, and so smart. And
he just wants to help people with his big, dumb balloon friend.
And they're best brother buddies, and they're so cute. And there's this children's book called Hiro and Tadashi, which makes me cry because we all know that Tadashi dies, but the book doesn't get into that. It's just about their relationship. And I was just like,
oh my god.
Sad.
That's rough stuff.
It is rough stuff. The supplementary material gets really rough. There's this one book called Hero's Journal, and it's essentially him retelling the story through his perspective. One of those tie-in books for movies.
Yeah.
But at the part where Tadashi dies, it's just 2 pages of him scribbling shit out of the journal. It's just all scribbled out black.
What? Oh.
It's some fucking Marble Hornet shit or something.
And I'm like, I'm gonna cry.
Again.
No, Tadashi,
Who let that happen? Who looked at that and went, yes, approved. Show this to the children. Let them see it. Let them see it.
There's nothing I don't know, inappropriate about it. It's just like...
You're right, kids are too dumb to understand that kind of powerful subtext.
I don't know. That's one thing that I did think the movie did well, was show that pain and that loss very well and sort of subtly, because it wasn't just like... He wasn't in everybody's face about it. It was like, I'm sad.
Yeah.
And he went through his phases.
Yeah, he did go through those stages. And it was sort of very believable. He withdrew himself and didn't want to start the recovery process.
Yeah.
And was sort of forced into it, which is really how it is for a lot of people.
Yeah. But that line where Tadashi's like, somebody has to save him, and I'm like, yeah, the firemen, the firefighters, you don't have to do it. Don't go in the building.
And then it turned out he especially didn't have to fucking do it.
Yeah, that was really hurtful.
That was just... And, like, okay, so not only did Tadashi not have to die because it turns out that the guy he was trying to save caused it and it was totally safe anyway, but the guy who caused it and was totally safe anyway didn't even have to cause it because his daughter never died in the first place. It was double pointless. This whole movie was just full of dumb, smart people.
Yeah, that's what one of my friends was saying. Like, they're all so dumb for smart people. I'm like, yeah, they're good at math. That doesn't mean they're good at life.
Yeah, like, have you met super genius people? They're kind of not all there.
Yeah. And then, of course, we have the fan favorite, Scott Adsit as Baymax. Baymax.
Yeah, if I didn't read that, I never would have guessed that was Scott Adsit because he was doing a voice. Scott Adsit was the head writer character from 30 Rock.
Yeah.
Oh, what? Him?
Yeah, it's that guy. The kind of...
Oh, my God!
Yeah.
That's
doing
so
a voice
freaky.
And then, like, all robo-modulated. So, I mean, in a sense, they could have done anybody. For celebrity casting, it wasn't necessary, but, it really worked. He was good at it. He was great.
Job.
Holy crap.
His that performance was super great.
The fact that this is producer Roy Conley. The fact that his character is a robot limits how you can emote, but Scott was hilarious. He took those boundaries and was able to shape the language in a way that makes you feel Baymax's emotion and sense of humor. Scott was able to relay just how much Baymax cares.
The thing with an artificial intelligence is if it's good enough, like, it doesn't have emotions, but you end up projecting them on it, which as a robo caretaker is something that would be very effective and very likely to happen. So the fact that it happened for audiences is great.
Yeah, I mean, he just wants to help people, and he sees Hiro as his patient, so he's willing to do anything to help him. And
it also helped. I think it also helped that the characters in the film also put their emotions onto Baymax. Like at no point did anyone do not even necessarily anybody antagonist related. Like, no one did that whole cliche he's just a machine, whatever. Like, no, everyone loves Baymax.
Yeah, but the fun thing is that he really was just acting on his programming. He wasn't breaking the mold or anything. He was just behaving how he was programmed to do.
Yeah.
But he was programmed so well that he seems like a person. So people treat him that way.
Yeah, and the whole thing with this movie, and part of it, because none of these people have superpowers as it was, they're all, this is a bunch of intellectuals. Nobody's anti-science in this movie. They don't even touch with that shit because there's no room for characters like that. The villain is pro-science. The guy who they're trying to set up as a red herring as a villain, but it's way too obvious that he's not.
Yeah.
He likes science.
Yeah, everybody in this movie is pro-science, so they don't even entertain the idea of, anti-science rhetoric.
No.
It's a team full of Iron Men, and that their powers all come from their ingenuity. And I was gonna say, it's like Iron Man without the money, but then Fred comes in, so that's how they can afford all the shit.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because Fred is a good example. Even people who aren't super genius scientists in this film love science. Fred's just a dude, but he digs the shit out of science. And so, honestly, at a lot of points in the film, I related to Fred because I was just yeah, I'm shit at math and chemistry and shit, but I eat this crap up. I love it.
So Fred is voiced by T.J. Miller, and he's this comic book fan who is the mascot at San Francisco. And he's one of those characters that we learn more about through supplementary materials. For example, that he basically does like a never-ending schedule of not-for-profit volunteer work, which is why he was recommended to be the mascot of someone else's school. So yeah, like, even though he's super rich, he devotes most of his time to charity work. And one of those organizations is like an XP for Big Brothers Big Sisters, which sort of makes sense why he was like so into Hiro and like trying to help him and stuff, and had that really cheesy line after Tadashi died in that video. He's a really nice guy. He's a super weird nerd. Like, his room was kind of disturbing.
I mean, he's basically Shaggy, right?
Yeah, he's basically Shaggy, but he's creative.
All the way down to the rich, fancy parents.
Yeah.
T.J. Miller, our listeners may know him as the voice of Robbie from Gravity Falls.
Yeah, and T.J. Miller improvised, like, a lot of his lines for
I believe it.
Fred, which, makes a lot of sense.
He was also a tough nut in the How to Train Your Dragon franchise, including the television series Riders of Berk.
Yeah, but he turned out to be a lot more interesting of a character than I think a lot of people expected.
Oh, yeah.
Because, like, you thought he was just going to be, like, that dumb guy, I guess.
He could have easily been, like, just the annoying comic book nerd, because, like, he pushed the boundaries at some point, but just, like, his character was just so charming that he made it work. I really liked Fred.
Yeah, Fred was a great character. And Fred was another one of those, like, controversial characters when he was whitewashed, because he is the only character that is purely Caucasian. And the character that he's based on
is Honey Lemon mixed?
Yeah, she's
Latina.
Oh, cool.
Fred, his character in the comics was Ainu, which is the indigenous people, the group of indigenous peoples from Japan, like before they came over from the mainland and became what we know as the Japanese. So a lot of people were like really upset about that. I mean, that would have been really cool.
How does indigenous Japanese work in a amalgamation of Japan with a whole other country? Yeah,
it just doesn't really... It doesn't have the context. Like, America, we wouldn't really get it, even if he was.
The whole thing just falls apart when you try and, like, just... I don't even know. Like, what... Like, you can't... It's dumb.
Yeah, it really would only make sense for a Japanese audience. You would have to take a lot of time to explain it.
Yeah, this is just not that film.
Yeah. But then we have, like, everybody's favorite babe, Gogo Tamago.
Yes!
Played by Jamie Chung, she's done a lot of stuff. She's the live-action Mulan in Once Upon a Time.
She was Chi-Chi in the live-action Dragon Ball movie.
Yeah. But she's really awesome. She is Korean, and so is Gogo. Gogo being the first Korean Disney character ever. And there's a lot of, like, fun stuff about Gogo's, like, physical design. She was based on bicycle messengers, and a lot of her personality was, too. Like, they wanted her to have, like, tattoos, but of course they wouldn't let her have tattoos.
Lame.
They also wanted Aunt Cass to have tattoos, too.
Lame! Give everyone tattoos.
She was designed by Shi-Yoon Kim, and their idea was to, like, have her become a caricature of the typical radish ankle Korean girl type, which is, what her body type is.
Yes.
The person, Shi-Yoon, said they read an article that the reason why Korean speed skaters are so great at speed skating is because of their natural proportions, which they thought was perfect for Gogo and her powers. So they gave her a very typical Korean body type, which I thought was pretty cool.
Now, there was that sort of... I saw this thing on Tumblr that was, like, kind of the go-to character design when you're trying to make a tough Asian characters to give her blue, purple, or pink highlights. And, like, I saw, like, this list of examples, and it's, like, 30 different characters. It's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
So there are many aspects of her character that are really overdone, but overall I think it came together to something very appealing.
Yeah, well, they wanted to make her tough like those bicycle messengers. Like, they did research, and those girls are crazy
and give her a shitty attitude like bicycle messengers.
Yeah, well, I mean, her attitude's not shitty. She just doesn't talk very much, She sort of doesn't need a reason to explain everything that's on her mind. And she's actually one of the more, like, maternal. Like, especially when it came to Hiro, like, I think she was the one who really connected with him the most, even though they didn't really say very much.
My favorite line is when she tells him to woman up.
Yeah, great stuff.
Love it.
I love when they're all just screaming their catchphrases for no reason.
Yeah,
awesome.
it's like so forced, but at the same time kind of enjoyable.
Yeah, it was super corny, but I loved it.
Yeah.
Like, in a movie that hadn't earned it, it would have been insufferable, though.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's a lot of stuff in this film. Like, if this film was less charming and had just less to love about it, like, other stuff in this film would not have worked. Like, this film is very forgivable for a lot of its stuff, because the other shit it does so well.
Yeah, it is just so irresistible. I mean, it's hard not to fall under its spell and just enjoy yourself while watching it. Yeah, I mean, obviously we would have loved more Go-Go, but...
And frankly, all of the other 6.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Wasabi and Honey are both great, too. Can I just, like... Because, obviously, there was, like, one of the first controversies with this film, aside from...
I definitely want to talk about what I know you're about
the
to say.
freaking... Aside from the freaking differences from the shitty comic book that it's loosely based off of, thank God it's as loosely as it possibly could be, so why are you even complaining about that? But the other thing people complain about, Honey Lemon supposedly is another fucking Rapunzel clone, and anybody who claims that can eat a dick. Eat several dicks.
I loved her design.
Her
I
design
loved how
was
she
great.
was so tall but wore giant platform heels anyway.
Honestly, like, I will say, like, when they first dropped concept art, she looks different than she did in that, I think.
Yeah, that's one of the complaints, is that, you know, she is Latina, but they don't really make much of a point of it in the movie. In some of the early concepts, she was more dark-skinned, and she had, like, a Lolita thing going on. And obviously Tumblr doesn't like the fact that she was turned into a light-skinned Latina with blonde hair and light eyes, but...
How dare those exist?
Light-skinned Latin people exist. 2 of them are on this show.
Yeah. You can have, like, siblings. Like,
I'm so white. Like, Nina's darker than I am. I'm nobody believes me when I say I'm Hispanic.
I barely do.
I don't look Hispanic at all, and I'm half Hispanic. Our mother was born in Colombia.
Yeah, honestly, I didn't even think about, like, when I didn't know that about you until I met your mother, and I was like, oh, hi. Like, what?
Yeah, well, that's sort of been my whole life, too, is that people don't know it until our mom comes in the picture, and they're like, oh, you're not a white person? And it's like, oh, dear. We can have a whole conversation about passing, but I want to defend Honey Lemon because I don't think it's fair that people are like, well, she's a light-skinned Latina, so it doesn't count. And I'm like,
that's a different kind of racism.
I think.
That's
I don't
so
know what the
racist.
hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, it's you generalizing how all Latin people look.
I don't know.
I mean, obviously, like, when Frozen came out and they showed the models for Anna and Elsa, it's like, okay, this is just Rapunzel again. And I'm still firmly in that camp. They're very similar. Yeah. And there are absolutely similarities between Honey Lemon and that template.
But she has her own sense of style, and she has a different body type.
There's so much going on with her. Yeah, there's the style, absolutely the body type. Like, was there any difference between Rapunzel and Frozen body types?
No, not really.
Yeah, like, the way she moved was incredible. You didn't see that kind of energy in the other 2 movies. I mean, would it have been nice for them to divert from that template more? Of course. But I feel like they absolutely did enough to give this character her own identity. And I wouldn't have really noticed the similarity if people weren't pointing it out, because, the facial structure's similar, but you move on from that, there's a lot of differences. It's not like I said, with Anna and Elsa, I'm like, the first time I saw it, like, this is the same fucking character. I already saw this movie. I'm not going to see it again. I did.
Honey Lemon was voiced by Genesis Rodriguez, who really helped push the Latina thing. Like, she did it on purpose to accentuate Honey's heritage with the accent. Which is another thing people complain about. Honey rolls the R in Hero's name.
Yeah, I noticed that. I like that.
I thought that was like a white person trying too hard to pronounce Japanese
That's
correctly.
what everybody thought, but that's not what it was.
I mean, that's what I thought, and I didn't mind.
Yeah, or like
I thought
the thing
if
that,
it
like,
was, I thought that was it would have been a hilarious joke.
Yeah.
It's like not even Hiro and Tadashi lean on that R the way that you're supposed to do it in Japanese, which I can't really do.
No, I can't do either. But
Like when I have to try to read Japanese, I'll just roll the R's like it's Spanish, because Japanese and Spanish phonetics are not identical, obviously, but pretty similar. That's part of why Japanese transliterates to the Latin alphabet so well, is because the phonetics are similar enough to work with. It's not like, say, Vietnamese, where the transliteration on that is unbelievable nonsense.
Yeah. But what really made me realize that, like, oh yeah, she's Latino was when she was like, photo, like...
Oh, yeah.
I was like, yeah. That's like, because I swear to God, when you go out with family, like, every 10 minutes, it's like, photo, like, we have to take photos now. And like,
I didn't get that joke, but thank you for
Me neither.
explaining it.
yeah, no, when I heard it, I was like, oh, yes, that's exactly what they say, and, like, all the time about everything. It's like, you're telling them a story, and they're like, where's photo, where's the photographs? You know, like, well, come on, I need to see what's happening. You know, so... I know people wish she would have, like, been, like, way more in the face with the Latina stuff, but then I feel like people would have complained about that.
Basically, no one will ever be happy with anything ever. You're all terrible. Internet.
One last fun trivia about Honey Lemon is that when she's introduced in the lab, the song that's playing is Boca Dulce Boca, which is a song by Jose Luis Rodriguez, which is the voice actress's father.
Oh, cool.
So I thought that was really neat.
It's Boca Dulce Boca?
Yeah.
This movie's just full of neat things.
So, mouth, sweet mouth?
Yeah, mouth, sweet mouth. Kissing
Okay,
that
sweet
mouth.
mouth.
Yeah, you can look.
Yeah,
Do it.
you translate it literally, and it sounds creepy, but that's because white people are creepy, I guess. I don't know.
No, we are.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, one more thing. Did they ever explain where Honey Lemon's name came from? Because, like, wasabi, it's because he spilled wasabi on his shirt one time.
Which is really hard to do, by the way. I don't know how you do that.
Go-Go, it comes from the name and the fact that she's all about, you know, the locomotion
she's
and
Sonic.
everything.
And tamago is like a sort of bastardization of the Japanese word for egg, which is, I think, tomogo or something.
Egg.
Which is why she's yellow. And when she goes really fast, like, that's why they had, like, that scene where she was, like, going so fast in this circle. It's like she looks like an egg.
All right. Because I think, like, Tamago didn't sound like a Korean name to me. It sounded more Japanese.
No, it was. Well, because in the original comics, they were all Japanese. We don't know, in this movie's continuity, we don't know Wasabi, Honey's, or Go-Go's real names. Because since they're not Japanese, we can assume they don't have the Japanese names they had in the comics.
Yeah.
Go-Go would have a Korean name, presumably. Though, no, I think her voice actress said her first name is Ethel. But yeah, Honey Lemon's name, I think it just comes from her personality.
Yeah.
You know, that she's sweet and whatever. But yeah, Wasabi, played by Damon Wayans Jr. Wayans Jr.
He's a Wayne's brother.
It's Wayne's brother. Okay.
One of the better ones, right?
Probably, yeah.
Wasabi's, you know, he's fun. He's like this largely built, slightly neurotic, neat freak guy.
He's enormous and pretty neurotic.
Yeah,
He's fucking sliced.
He probably only got so cut because he's, like, I don't know, paranoid about getting diabetes or something.
No, he's cut from washing his hands so much.
Just, like, constantly, like...
Well, one of the writers, Dan Gerson, said that they just thought it was funny that the guy who looks like he would be the strongest would be, like, the most scared of taking risks and being an action guy.
And again, that sounds super on the nose and obvious on paper, but this film really made it work and made it endearing.
Yeah.
Because he's so much... He's, like, all of them are very much on paper, like, cliche stereotype cookie cutter characters, but they do their own unique thing with their TV trope roles that they're given.
Yeah, I mean, and I think their actors have a lot to do with that because
Absolutely.
they're all amazing performances. Like, they all sound great, and the emotion that the ones that are allowed to have emotional scenes are amazing. But yeah, Wasabi is super fun, but of course we wish we had more of him.
More?
But he sort of becomes like the voice of reason in that he points out that what they're doing is crazy. Like, he's the only one that's like, wait, how is becoming superheroes the most logical next step? Like, that doesn't make any sense. But they're like, shut up, Wasabi. We're doing
Wasabi,
it."
we live in San Francisco. It's fucking anarchy.
And then there's everybody's favorite Aunt Cass.
And Cass.
Aunt Cass. It's played by Maya Rudolph. She was... I didn't expect to like her so much, but she was really likable.
Yeah. She was such like a, well, she's not technically a mom, but she's such a mom.
Yeah.
I love it.
I love her introduction scene where she gets them out of jail and she just won't stop talking and she's like, do I know anything about parenting? No. Should I have read a book about it? Probably.
Where was I going with this? Like, she's just so... Everybody in this movie is a mess. Except for Tadashi, and then he died.
He's a literal mess of... That joke's in poor taste.
Because I know, like, a lot of people were hoping that the villain was gonna be Tadashi.
For a split second, I wondered that. I didn't think they were gonna do it, but I thought it would have been an interesting angle. I don't know where they would have gone with it. But...
I don't know. I would have
'cause,
just
like...
been happy that he wasn't dead.
That's the only reason I thought, because, like, I think that's the only reason it came on, because I was like, I really don't want Tadashi to be fucking dead.
He's too good.
Yeah, because, like, they were obviously setting Cray up to be the villain, but it was...
Way.
so obvious it wasn't going to be him for two... I mean, just the whole thing, it was set up to be too obvious. It would have...
Like...
There would have been no payoff if it turned out to be him. Also, that schnoz wouldn't have fit under the mask.
I was... But no, like he walks up on screen, says, like, one word, and I immediately went, hi, bad guy, and then I went, oh, wait, that's way too fucking obvious.
Yeah. How do you pronounce this actor's name? Alan Tudyk?
Tudyk. The guy from Firefly, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
His watch.
Alan Tudyk.
And he was in...
Other things.
He was in Wreck-It Ralph. He was the villain guy.
Oh.
He was a villain in that, so they're not going to do it. They're not going to make him do that twice.
Well, you also know that...
And that guy you didn't see... I didn't see that guy being the villain coming.
No.
But I also didn't go into that movie with an analytical eye because I was just sincerely enjoying it so much.
Yeah.
Yep.
But honestly, like, it had to be Callahan because it was James Cromwell. They weren't going to kill him off in the first act and not have him come back for the rest of the movie.
True.
This isn't a Bethesda game.
No. One interesting thing is that the villain's name is Yokai, but they never say it in the movie.
Oh yeah.
Like the mask character guy is
The
Yokai?
Kabuki mask guy. His villain name is Yokai.
Which are Japanese demons. Or
Yeah,
spirits.
demon,
Japanese
spirit, monster.
folklore monsters.
Yeah.
They're
pretty
every,
bad.
Every
love
single
yokai.
goddamn one of which is incredible. There's not a single yokai that sucks.
All of them are like hopping umbrellas or buttholes with eyeballs.
I love that butthole with eyeball one. All it does is find you in an alleyway, spread its butt cheeks, and show you its eyeball anus, and it's just like
now you have to deal with this.
Ancient Japan invented goatsy.
like, it doesn't hurt you at all, it just freaks you the fuck out. I loved Yokai's design.
Oh yeah.
He looked so cool.
Super cool.
And the way that they animated the nanobots and the way that he moved and had his powers, like, this villain was awesome looking.
There's kind of like an Avatar state thing going on. Wasn't there, like, parts in Avatar where, like, a person... Yeah, where, like, Aang or Korra would be, like, in a tornado moving themselves that way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, but speaking of Avatar, also a couple times he was giving off like an Amon vibe because of the mask.
Oh, totally.
I super dug him.
And I love how he didn't talk.
Yeah, because then you would have
He
known.
was-
You would have been
he
like,
was-
hey, that's
like,
James Crumb.
He
That's
was
Jimmy
legitimately kind of scary. Like, in his own, like, intimidating way. It was like, oh, wow, this guy is actually threatening and kind of
He's gonna get you. He did, however, have one of my favorite lines in the movie, and it's not like it was anything profound in itself. It's just that it hit me really hard, and that's the line, when he's got Cray, and he's like, oh, I'll do whatever you want. It's like, I want my daughter back. And what that reminded me of was the line from Princess Bride, I
Yes,
want
me
my father
too.
back, you son of a bitch. And what that then reminded me of was that interview with the guy who played Inigo Montoya. What's his name? Mandy
Shit.
Patinkin. Mandy Patinkin.
Okay. Whew.
I want to read this because this kills me.
Yeah.
Okay.
The reason I made the movie was coming to fruition, which was I was going to get the cancer that killed my father. I lost my father back in 1972. It just hit a chord with me that I want my father back just like he does. And in my mind, I feel that when I killed the Six-Finger Man, I killed the cancer that killed my father. And I remember we were outside the castle, and I took a walk in this most beautiful moat, and I just kept talking to my dad saying, I'm going to write it. I'm going to write this wrong. And for a moment, he was alive, and my fairy tale came true. Now, please give me a moment, because I'm seriously about to break down. Oh, my
Yeah,
God. That gets me. So all of that hit me at once.
No, this movie was very emotional, and one thing that it did very well is it deconstructed like the death by origin sort of story trope, because I mean both our villain and our hero had this great loss and they approached it in a different way, and they were very similar, and it just sort of the whole thing where the only reason why hero didn't go over the top was because he had friends and he had
a support group to keep his head where it needed to be. Although, if it was just... Because, this is actually something I was thinking about going earlier. Like, this movie, as much as we've talked about how much we like the support characters, they're very secondary to this movie. It's really Hero and Baymax is the focus here. But I guess, in terms of plot relevance, what their most important thing was stopping Hero from becoming the monster he was trying to defeat. Because Baymax, obviously doesn't have that kind of capacity.
no.
He doesn't have that moral compass.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he
'Cause
did.
He's a robo.
He was preventing Hero from accessing his chip.
Oh, yeah.
Thing. He was like, "Are you going to take out my health chip?" And Hero was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "I don't want you to do that."
Yeah,
That
well,
was-
because Baymax knows that will lead him to go against his primary programming. If
Yeah,
he
exactly.
removes the primary programming. So yeah, it's not like Baymax is like accidentally compassionate because
Exactly.
he's programmed to be compassionate.
Yeah, that whole thing was not him like trying to prevent Hero from killing somebody. It was preventing Hero from overriding his primary purpose.
And it
Yeah.
worked
So,
so well.
And all those questions he asked him was him, digging into all that psychology stuff he downloaded, just like of trying to help him. He wasn't actually like trying to show him a lesson or anything. He was just honestly asking him.
And
Is
then
this what you
and
want?
fucking and then the thing like Tadashi is here. That whole thing,
Oh
that
my
whole running
God.
thing. Tadashi is here, and then Jesus.
This is why I love robots in fiction. This is why. Because they're capable of being so human in such a profound way while still, being robots.
They're like dogs we built.
Yeah.
They're like dogs who can talk, so you get the entire exchange in there.
Except for they're saying more than food and hey, what's that? Hey.
Yeah. But, I mean, that whole scene when Baymax is first activated and he's asking, "Where's Tadashi?
Where is Tadashi?
Where is Tadashi?"
He
And
was in
Hero's
full
like,
health.
He was in full health. I scanned him. He should have lived a very long life. And I was just like, Baymax,
Baymax,
why
no.
did you do this to me? And then, of course, the scene with the video log was very difficult.
Yeah.
That was this movie's answer to the beginning of Up, which obviously nothing can compare to that, but this was, pretty close. Kind of close.
It was at a really
close.
big emotional climax, too,
Yeah.
because Hero was like,
Hero was ready to kill a man,
yeah, this 14-year-old child was ready to kill somebody.
and not even to get in a gang.
But I understand why, because that line that Callahan said where Hero was like, but he went in to save you, and Callahan was just said, well, that was his fault. I didn't ask him to do that. Basically, it's his fault he died. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Like, that hurt a lot.
Yeah, and he said that about a man who, up until that point, you thought that he really cared about. But, like, Callahan was so blinded by his own mission for revenge.
Another interesting thing about yokai is that he was inspired by an obscure Marvel villain called Lord Deathstrike.
Lord Deathstrike? Wait, no, are you talking about Lord Deathman?
Are you talking about Captain Meanbad?
No, Lord Deathman. He's like a skeleton dude.
That's real? I thought you were making a goof.
No, it's Lord Deathstrike.
This
he
is
has
a
the
different,
mask and everything.
stupid, oh my god, comics.
But,
Oh, okay, Lord Deathstrike, yeah, he's a dude in a kabuki mask.
His daughter's more famous because she's one of Wolverine's nemesis. Anyway, one of the interesting things about his designs is that in his kabuki mask has red streaks on it, and in kabuki theater and no theater, red symbolizes passion alongside anger and cruelty, which is very
solid
fitting.
Symbolism.
They did their homework. That's the thing about this movie is that, I've had people try to tell me that, it's just like needless appropriation, but I'm like, they did their homework. Like, they didn't get anything wrong,
Yeah, I just dug everything about this film felt like sincere, like the people making it cared.
Nothing about it seemed disrespectful at all when it comes to cultural stuff.
Yeah. This isn't a cultural thing, but it's a great argument in favor of its sincerity. Like, the third act emotional climax of that movie, the thing in the weird portal guy.
Yeah.
That, I made the joke earlier that this movie is Iron Giant 2. And while I'm watching that, I'm like, okay, they're doing the Iron Giant thing. But they're doing it with such sincerity. It didn't feel the slightest bit manipulative. It had its own spin on it, and it completely worked. Like, I'm watching it knowing what they're doing to me, and it still worked. That's how good it was.
Yeah.
Its execution is so good that it makes up for almost all of its flaws, of which there absolutely are flaws. I'm not going to stand here and tell you this is a perfect movie. It's not.
No, it's not. It has the same sort of plot holes and movie contrivances that just happen in Hollywood and Disney all the time.
Yeah, its skeleton is very by the books. Like, the outline of this film, you've seen it a bajillion times, but the meat of it is where everything comes together into something really fun and refreshing.
Like we said, I walked into this movie expecting something functional. I didn't expect it to be this good.
Yeah, I didn't expect to care as much as I did.
Yeah, because I knew going into this, because one of the main immediate critiques of the film was I've seen this before. Like, this is it's kind of derivative. It's got a pretty predictable plot. So I was just expecting okay, well, let's just have fun and eat some popcorn, even though I don't eat popcorn in movies.
That's too dry. You choke. And
yeah,
weird.
and then you drink fluids, and then you just have to pee by the third act. What was I talking about?
We were talking about...
I think we're being Andy Rooney.
We were talking about how... we didn't expect...
This movie's good!
We didn't expect what we got. I expected to have fun. I didn't expect to become, really emotionally invested.
I expected to have an experience similar to Box Trolls. And we all liked Box Trolls, but it wasn't a fantastic movie by any stretch.
No.
Especially not like Paranorman, I would have said was. Paranorman is a fantastic movie. But, Box Trolls was a fun movie. It was imaginative. It had a identity of its own, but there was nothing super duper special about it. And we also mentioned Book of Life. I'm thinking from a narrative perspective, I'm not expecting anything super duper special from that. I am expecting special visuals, but I've seen them. I've seen the trailers. That's the one thing trailers can tell you for sure is what the movie's going to visually look like.
Yeah.
And so that's actually been my default expectation going into every movie I've gone into for a long time, is that this is going to be fun, but I'm probably not going to love it. So it's great when I'm surprised. I was very surprised by Lego Movie. I was very surprised by this.
And one cool thing about what Disney did to sort of cross-promote this movie and the whole science, because we're talking about science is portrayed very positively in this movie. All these kids are smart and they're cool too. Is that Disney teamed up with the humanist organization X Prize in order to inspire real kids and teens to come up with ideas to save the world through science, art, and technology. And they had this whole contest and this whole challenge and this whole promotional thing where these kids came up with like all kinds of crazy stuff. Stuff having, they came up with robotic things, they came up with automotive safety, ocean health, climate change stuff, transportation design, healthcare, waste management, like all these kinds of really awesome things. And they were like real kids, and it was like a, you know, there was like a prize. And it was just kind of cool that this movie, which is talking about how, you know, science is cool, was actually helping to promote this
yeah, I mean, the main theme of the first act is that they're trying to get this really talented but aimless kid to go to grad school and to apply what he can do to something useful, not just like for his own benefit and like realizing his own potential, but to help other people on a large scale. That's very it's very measurable help.
Yeah, I mean, that is one of the big themes, is that, you know, if you're a gifted person, or even if you're not, you have a obligation to try to help people. You know, that was Tadashi's whole thing, and, you know, that's why, you know, the ending line of the movies, you know, Tadashi wanted to help people, and now with our powers combined, we can do that. Because, you know, he was 14, he was selfish, he just wanted to make entire, just fat rolls of cash, which he could do very easily, but, like, he eventually learned that his own, like, sort of selfish ambitions aren't really ultimately rewarding, and, like, by making all these friends and companions and, like, going through this loss and recovering from it.
He could, to be fair, he could also just, like, on his off time, still go out and make fat rolls of cash, like, no one's stopping him.
No, totally.
Yeah,
I would not.
The one guy who was stopping him died.
Still totally make fat rolls of cash. Like,
I hope he does.
The kid can patent all kinds of shit, but then he can also take like an active participatory role. And
although I guess he doesn't have to now. He has a totally rich friend who will probably buy him anything just out of asking once.
Yeah, probably.
Fred seems like an utter instigator.
When they went to their garage lab and were building stuff, I'm like, how the hell do these kids have the money to build all this shit? And then I remembered, oh yeah, Hiro can make fat wads of cash.
Yeah, that's how we bought that 3D printer.
Yeah.
The giant, like the industrial
maybe this takes
3D
place
printer.
in the nearish future where 3D printing technology is at the affordable point that everybody says it's going to be at soon, but we've yet to fucking see that.
And then with Fred, once they were in Fred's house, the tech got even better because he had even more money.
So remember, kids, you can live your dreams as long as you have a lot of money.
Also,
that's the lesson of Batman and Iron Man.
Also, you have to be a genius and have the world's greatest big brother ever.
Or be friends with a genius, Fred.
Yeah. Who had your favorite power set?
Oh, man.
For me, it was definitely Honey Lemon.
Honey.
I dug that.
Yeah, I really
I loved how she did those complex chemical equations on the fly.
Yeah.
Like, she was just typing in the different elements. It's like, okay, I need whatever, and made it.
I need crodium fluoride.
I need big blue goop snakes. Go!
It was definitely really creative, and I liked it a lot.
But no matter what she made, it was just goop.
There's always a goop snake.
I need this color goop. Go!
But, you know, Go-Go was so slick with her speed racing, and I love that part where they're all, you know, sort of stuck, and they have to think at it at a different angle, you know. And Fred is like, my arms are going to be ripped apart. And it's like, oh wait, this is a suit. These aren't my arms.
And then he, like shoves his arms out of the suit to do stuff.
Yeah, I think they had a really good balanced power set thing going on.
Yeah, and again, it's interesting because, you know, normally when you see like a superhero team with a bunch of different kinds of powers, you get a bunch of different kinds of origins or power sources.
Yeah.
And all the same source. We're smart and we built it.
And then Hiro was smarter and managed to sort of compress it on like a micro scale so it can be applicable. Which is sort of what his genius, because like even the nanobots was really him just copying Callahan's technology in a smaller scale. Which is what he did with the other kids' technologies too.
Yeah.
Wasabi's probably has the most deadly one.
Yeah, for the guy who was the first to say, I don't want to kill anybody, he's the one who could most easily accidentally do it.
I love when he's cutting that hole in the wall, and he's just not cutting it.
Fucks up.
Can't get it right.
But we've all been there.
That was such an incredible, subtle joke.
It was so real.
I loved it.
And you'd think, like, because he's, like, that was part of his, like, you'd think he'd be good with, like, I don't know, like, tools and shit. Like, you'd think he'd know how to, I don't even know. I guess it's different on that big scale with your arms, with your entire arm.
Well, he didn't have, like, a protractor or whatever. And
yeah.
that whole scene in the car chase was... Everything about that scene was wonderful. Go-Go and Wasabi, wonderful. Baymax on the roof just watching, wonderful.
With his butt.
Yokai being awesome, wonderful. Like, that scene was so good.
I think my favorite scene was, and I didn't expect this to be my favorite scene because they gave away some of it in the trailer, was low battery Baymax.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't expect him to be that drunk. He was like drunk, like he was so drunk, like that. I can't even say anything else because it's just what he was.
That's what he was.
I loved it.
Harry baby.
Harry baby.
Yeah, like that was the trailer scene, and they didn't blow the whole load. They didn't ruin all the jokes.
Yeah, Baymax still made me laugh, even though I'd seen a lot of these visual jokes with him, but they were just so
every
many.
time he moved was funny.
Or even
it was funny every time, guys.
Because it takes him like 3 minutes to maneuver around a room to get to the other side of it.
Or like when Hero keeps getting hit with his action figures, it's like, how would you rate your bang? How would you rate your pain?
Yeah,
like that's just classic slapstick, but it was funny.
Yeah, I liked that. Him using the real life doctor face chart. Like the 1 out of 10 face chart that real doctors use. Cause
the real thing that doctors use because there's no better way to measure pain.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like doctors know that thing sucks.
Yeah, but it's like, how else are you supposed to tell how much pain someone's in? But yeah, I love him. I love how he was like, psychological stuff, and he just downloaded all the psychology stuff like immediately. He's like became an expert. Or when the friends finally show up, when Baymax and Hero do that like first sort of stakeout like at the docks, and Baymax thinks it's a great time to have like a group therapy session.
Yeah. Where would you guys like to see this franchise go in the future? Would you like to see movie sequels? Would you like to see like a TV show?
I was thinking like just because like just because I felt like the overall story concept would have really worked well with like more character moments, but obviously there was no room for it in the tight plot. Like I was thinking, like I would like to see a TV show, and like each plot is essentially like the A plot is they're fighting crime, and the B plot is they're doing a college thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I mean
that's
that
a great angle to explore. Is a 14-year-old kid in college. Like, I mean, it's not like it hasn't been done before, but I don't think it's been done in a while.
We've been stuck on high school since like the 80s. I'm done with high school. I've been done with high school actually since I was like, well, let's be real, like 15, like 2 weeks into it.
But yeah, I think that was one of the original scripts I read that one of the original pitches was like, you know, Hero was already in the college and like he wasn't fitting in, and
yeah.
Like,
I'm glad they didn't do that because that I don't care about. I just want to see, like, a do college shit.
Not like real college shit.
Not like, you know, put a beer bong in his asshole, but like...
Oh no, I was just gonna say, like, they open up his dorm and he's just, like, taking a giant bong rip.
But yeah, I mean, the only reason why I wouldn't want it to be a TV show is because this film was gorgeous. Like, it was so beautiful. And I don't want the budget to drop.
Yeah, I mean, which is an inevitability.
But
you know what's one scene they could have cut or shortened to make more room for character moments? Scene to jerk off the 3D where they're flying around the city.
Yeah.
It didn't need to be that long.
No, that was an homage to Iron Man, though. The first Iron Man movie.
Why does that need an homage? That was
I
like,
don't know, because they like...
That was like 2008.
That
Because
movie
Marvel
came out like
Studios
6 months
likes
ago.
to pat themselves on the back all the time. Like, we're so great.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay,
yeah,
wait.
I agree.
Okay, but Okay, but Hero's... Okay, going backpedaling for a minute. Hero's taking a bong rip, okay? Follow me on this.
Right.
And, like, Baymax is there, and he's just like, don't worry, my scanners indicate that this has medicinal purposes.
You gotta draw that comic now. You're gonna get 1 trillion notes from blogs that you... and then you're gonna get followed by blogs that you really wish wouldn't.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I'll do it.
All right. Now, we've been going for a while, so is there anything else you guys want to talk about on this movie before we wrap it up?
I want more.
Man. Just more.
I want this
Just
franchise.
more.
Yeah, if they
Let's
make a
not-
movie sequel, I'll be there day one.
Let's not make this another Incredibles.
Yeah. Like, I
Maybe
feel
they
like
just make
this...
one and bounce.
But I feel like this has even more potential than Incredibles because there were so
Absolutely.
many characters that weren't explored.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
this
everybody
whole...
in Incredibles got an arc.
And this whole world, the city of France, San Francisco, as stupid as its name is, it's an amazing place. Like, it's such a cool place.
At the very least, some supplemental comics.
Well, there's
Yeah.
that manga I mentioned.
Yeah.
But
If
I
they
know
made
that
like
has-
an ongoing, if they made like an ongoing manga comic thing, I'd read the shit out of it.
I think they are. I mean, it's being written now. Yen Press is going to publish it. I don't know how long it's going to be, but I know it's going to have sort of a different story, kind of, a little bit. It's just called Baymax. Because the Japanese movie was just, version of the film was just called Baymax.
That's great. They're cutting to the heart of the film.
Yep. Baymax, the heart. The squishy robotic heart.
Speaking of different language versions, another fun fact is that Genesis Rodriguez, she also voiced Honey Lemon in the Spanish version of the film.
That
Oh,
saves them
cool.
money.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. Big Hero 6.
Yeah.
Made me
Great
smile.
film.
Great Jordan.
One of my favorite films of the year, up there with Lego Movie, which I keep forgetting came out this year.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
This year was so long.